Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the So I Heard podcast. If you guys are new to this, man, I'm KD. Hopefully you guys are having a good one. So, I still haven't received my contacts. And since I haven't received my contacts, this episode, like the last episode, isn't really going to be edited. Since I don't have my contacts, it's kind of hard for me to look at the screen and constantly just be editing. The editing process does take a while, taking out mistakes, pauses, and all the different stuff. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit, add the music, of course, and that's about it. It's not going to be fully edited like I do with most of my podcast episodes, but hopefully you guys still do enjoy. It is a nice, sunny day in Los Angeles. Of course, the heat has been picking up, but the weather has been nice for the most part. These days, it might be a few clouds in the sky or whatever, but the sun is always shining, and I'm always grateful for that, man. It's one of those things that I was talking about earlier on, I think maybe on the first or second episode, talking about positivity and basically saying I look forward to these beautiful days. I mean, it could be raining outside, and I take the rain for what it is. That's also beautiful. It's a form of nature. It's something you do, I guess, cherish, It's nothing like chilling on a nice rainy day, and I wish we did have more. They always tell us that it doesn't rain in Southern California. It's a lie. But for me, I like it. I feel like it's good. It's calming. I don't know why so many people don't like the rain, but then we have it on these calming soundtracks or albums. These things that are supposed to make you feel so comfortable and chill, or have you in that mood to lay down and rest. But then when people have to deal with the rain, of course, it's a totally different thing. Now that is a whole different thing for sure, especially in Los Angeles with our crazy ass traffic. People get out in the rain and act like they've never seen rain. But that's not what the topic is going to be about today, man. The topic today is going to be about disconnect. And specifically, this disconnect is going to be about the disconnect between younger generations and older generations. So I feel like there is a disconnect for sure with the younger generation and the older generation. And of course, there are similarities. We are living in the same world. We're dealing with some of the same issues. And of course, we are human. So what made me think about this is I was on social media, of course, and we all know that the older generation does treat social media very differently. A lot of the older generation still doesn't fully understand social media, but if there is a social media platform that I feel older people do use a lot or understand, is Facebook. Now, it wasn't anything serious that happened in this, this situation. It's pretty much just an older person that I saw that was like kind of doing something that a lot of younger people wouldn't do, and it was something so minor, nothing to really even, to really even like make a big deal about or anything like that. But it just made me think about how older people do treat a lot of different stuff these days. One thing for sure, older people, from what I've seen with them in social media, is they do post on social media, but a lot of older people are so gossipy on social media. They're constantly watching what the younger people are doing, and then it's like, I think because they're so used to dealing with things the way that they've grown up doing them. Like, for one, if you're younger, you kind of treat dialogue a certain way with online. You know what I mean? We have that, and it's easier to talk, easier to speak to someone, I guess, through social media. The older generation is more used to being direct, right in your face. So you will see, for example, like an older person, right? They would see something that you do on social media. They might question it then through social media, but a lot of times they'll question you in person when they see you. And it's like, bro, they'll question you over something that happened so long ago. It's like, yeah, I saw you do that on social media. It's like, all right. And it's like, the biggest thing that I think a lot of people have an issue with, the younger generation has an issue with older people, is the way that older people question everything that people do, especially younger generation. Like, I get it. You might be curious in some ways, but at the same time, older people will ask you a certain question. You give your answer, and then they'll go into this big thing of like trying to tell you why you shouldn't be doing this or how you should do it differently. And it's like, yeah, I can understand if you're trying to just offer help, but a lot of times it's like in this way, like you're just fucking up completely. And it's not even that serious, but they do it a lot, you know? I think one thing that I often see the younger generation talk about is like, if you've ever cooked in front of an older person, right? Say you're making something, you're good at it, everybody loves that dish that you make, right? No matter what, even if it's loved, an older person will come out of nowhere and tell you, nah, you should do this, you should do that. And it's like, yo, like, but everybody loves it. Everybody thinks it's good. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what that is. I don't know if in a way, because you're older, you feel like the younger generation should constantly listen to what you say. You know, and we do have the thing of honor thy mother and father, you know, also respect your elders. But at the same time, I do feel like there is a lot of mistakes that the older generation has to own up to, right? I feel like in a lot of ways, the older generation acts like, because I've been here, I'm correct. And no matter what, I don't care how old you are, you're still going through life and you're still treating this as a learning experience. So one thing for me, it's constantly me looking at older people like, yo, maybe you're not right. Maybe you need to chill. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you should let people do stuff on their own. Don't constantly be there. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing? Stop questioning people so much. I don't know what it is specifically. I don't know why older people love to question the younger audience, but that's the thing that's kind of crazy to me, because when you talk to older people, they talk about growing up and when they were younger, teenagers, or, you know, even younger than that, or maybe a little bit older than that. And they talk about how they used to hate the questioning as well. I believe we can sit there and talk about any generation, and the generation before that generation will say that younger generation was some sort of rebellious. You know what I mean? They wanted to do their own thing. They didn't always listen. You know what I'm saying? So in a lot of ways, we could see it constantly happening. And then, you know, still the cycle of we're questioning. I don't know how my life will be in the future, obviously, but I think like sometimes like, okay, so if they said that they were being annoyed when they were young, am I going to be old and, you know, annoying somebody that's young as well? I don't know what it's like. I don't have kids, but at the same time, I feel like the cycle just constantly keeps going. And in my mind, and a lot of younger people that I know, you know, I'm not so young. I'm out of my 20s, but still, I'm considered young in the eyes of somebody that is older, of course. And I would sit there and tell myself, man, I hope I'm not like that. I hope I'm not doing that. And there's some stuff that I don't understand that people younger than me do. And I'm kind of looking at it just like I look at the actions of older people. And I'm like, all right, like, that doesn't make sense. It's stupid. One of the biggest things for me, especially with people that are younger these days, is how they kind of do whatever for fame, you know. Social media, one of the main elements, I guess, in this topic. We look at younger people these days, and they kind of do whatever to get noticed. Anything. Now, one thing I do talk about with the generation that I'm in, the age range that I'm in, is the fact that I remember what it was like before all of this internet stuff. And I'm happy I grew up at this time because I'm like in the middle, I'm in the middle of certain stuff that my parents still believed in, and certain stuff that that I can relate to with the younger generation. And yeah, man, the younger generation, we see the TikToks all the time, the YouTube videos on Facebook or any type of social media, and we see like the younger generation like doing stupid stuff. I think I talked about it in my video about does the internet change people, and well, not video, but my episode of does the internet change people, and I use the example of seeing younger people setting themselves on fire just to try to go viral. There's another thing that's going on with people. It's even happening with people that are my age, and it's like they're online and they're eating chocolate, ice cream sundaes or milkshakes or something out of toilet bowls. Like, I don't understand it, I mean, and it's not just that. It goes to a lot of different type of videos. And it's like, man, everybody these days, I don't know if it is just the younger generation now that I think about it, because there are some people around my age that are just trying to do whatever to become known. There's a lot of older people that I feel do that too, but maybe because the older generation isn't so in tuned with the internet and social media. So I think they treat a lot of stuff differently. There was a conversation that was going on between the comedian Monique and I guess some young ladies that she saw at the store or at the airport. I believe, the example she was using was the airport. And she was saying that these young ladies are going around wearing bonnets and house shoes and like wearing, stuff that looks like they're about to go to bed. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's nighttime, And she was saying that she feels that we should carry ourselves more. And she was specifically speaking to young black women, right? So with her saying that, I noticed that there were so many women that took offense to it. And I thought that was strange, okay? It was even some women that are around my age that took offense to it, and I thought that was weird. And, we could just chalk it up to upbringing, definitely, right? I'm a male. I'm a guy. But even growing up, I have no sisters, But even growing up, I've always heard you should never go out in clothes that look like you're about to go to sleep, like pajamas, or women should never go out and wear hair rollers in their hair or a shower cap on or a bonnet, anything like that. I would constantly hear that. I would hear it from my aunts. I would hear it from my mom, my grandma, different women in my life. And as far as I knew, I would always see friends, like their parents, saying the same thing. So this is what really made me think about it and be like, all right, so is it just, I mean, I can't say it really is the younger generation, because like I said, it's women my age that are also doing this. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, yeah, we can all sit there and tell Monique to mind her business. But to me, she had a point. I'll go to the store and it's people, that have pajamas on and different stuff like this. I remember a long time ago, I had to go to court for a traffic ticket. And this guy, this young dude, he was in court and he had on straight up SpongeBob pajama pants. Pajama, whatever. But he had the pants on, right? And the judge's first thing was, I can't believe you came in here dressed like that. And the judge, I guess this guy had to, constantly come back to court. And the judge was saying, don't come to court like that again. And I believe she said, like, she wouldn't take the case. She'll just make him have to come back another date if he didn't come, correct the next time. And I thought about that dude. He had on straight up house slippers, pajamas, and like a regular t-shirt. She asked him if he had any other type of dressy clothes or anything. He said no. And I understand, like, not everybody has the money to go get, dressy clothes and different stuff like that. But at the same time, you have to carry yourself a certain way. There's times where I just want to chill, of course. But then I'm like, yo, man, I'm going out. I'm about to be in the world. People are going to see me. Like, let me look like I care about myself. And that was Monique's main thing. Some of these women look like they didn't care about themselves. Now, that doesn't mean that it's true. They might just see it as something that's, stylish or fashion or something like that. But at the same time, I've always heard you're supposed to carry yourself a certain way. Now, working and everything, I've seen people go on interviews and, they're in interviews in like jeans and a shirt. And it's like, I go to my interviews in a dress shirt, dress pants, and nice, dress shoes, if not a suit. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm better than this person or, I'm going to just outwork this person or whatever. That person might be a great, great employee. And I guess that was the main thing that these young women were trying to make as their point. They were basically trying to say, just because we have this on doesn't mean like we're less of anything. I understand that side also, So I guess this is a good example of me understanding both sides, the younger people and the older people. I feel like some of these, times it's like, all right, the older people need to mind their business. I mean, and it wasn't like Monique said that this was like damaging, you know what I mean? She didn't say it like it was like something serious, like people getting murdered or something. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like kind of concerns, like, why do you guys carry yourselves this way? So my thought process on the whole thing was kind of like, well, that's kind of true. Because you will see these younger chicks like arguing with other women. They're like, oh, you're a bum, you're a bum, you're a bum. And then they'll be talking about that woman, and that woman is wearing basically what Monique was saying we shouldn't be wearing out in public. So I'm like, if in that situation you're calling her a bum because she's dressed like that, why do you not think that people would judge you the same way? So that was my question to the younger audience. The only question I basically had for like Monique and the older audience is, well, you didn't really have to speak up on it. You know what I mean? It's not hurting you, but I understand there was like some type of confusion, so you had a question for it. You know what I mean? And another thing is, I feel like some of these people take this stuff so serious and act like Monique is saying you have to do this. It was kind of like, you guys should carry yourselves a little bit better. And that was it. I don't have a problem with statements like that. And that brings me to another part of the conversation. Now, one thing that I noticed about the difference in generations is the fact that a lot of older people say that the younger generation is more soft. But in certain ways, they also say that the younger generation does whatever they want. The younger generation is desensitized to a lot of things. So, I guess it just plays that way in certain situations. But I think normally when the conversation goes to the younger generation being soft, it's more so, I guess, compared to the younger generation kind of not being able, and I don't even know if this is actually true, but with the examples, it's like, all right, we hear a lot about situations where somebody says a derogatory term towards somebody, right? And people in the younger generation will really take offense to it. Well, older people will too. I don't know. This is all confusing. I'm really trying to make sense of it, but I'm sure we see the examples happen on both sides. But like older people would be like, oh, back in my day, we were able to say whatever. We're able to say anything that we wanted to say, and we do notice that. But at the same time, like, some stuff is a little bit more open now to say, to talk about. It's not as secretive as it once was. And I think that's where the confusion is. You know what I mean? I think the younger audience is like, well, the younger people are saying, we kind of do whatever we want. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the rebellious stuff rules, We're getting away from those old mindsets. And I don't know. I can't say that I disagree with either side, but I notice the differences. But at the same time, when it comes to saying something to like an older person, right? One thing that I notice with a lot of older people like to dish out a lot of stuff. Older people will talk crap all day long. But as soon as a younger person says something to an older person, it's considered disrespectful, right? But then a lot of us, when we're raised, we were like, all right, don't take shit from nobody. But then we'll see it in our family groups, and our family be like, all right, don't take shit from nobody except for us. It's like, all right, well, if you're, raising me to not take crap from people, you're going to have to be one of those people also that I'm not taking crap from. Like, you're not excluded, And I feel like the older generation doesn't understand that. They want to stick to a lot of their older beliefs, but at the same time, it's, at least for me, right? I feel like if you're talking crap, if you're saying this, and this, and I say something, you don't have the right to try to act offended. You know what I mean? You wanted to dish your part. Don't call me mean. Don't act like I'm just being rude. You wanted to say what you wanted to say. I said what I wanted to say. We're both adults at this age, you know what I mean? I could see if it's a young kid and they're just talking crap back. But even then, that kid doesn't want to hear your crap all the time. And that is my main issue with the older generation. I feel like the older generation constantly wants to say something and speak on stuff. And it's like, bro, it's not hurting you. Calm down. Live your life. But at the same time, for the younger generation, we are very opinionated as well. The main thing for me is that I feel like we have to build some type of understanding. And I feel like it's hard to build that understanding because both sides are constantly going to get upset. You know what I mean? They're going to constantly be clashing. One thing that is real true about the younger generation is the younger generation doesn't want to hear shit. The younger generation is a generation that beefs so much with each other. I'm talking about in the same age group. Like they're constantly beefing with each other because everybody seems so stubborn. You know what I mean? And I'm not just saying it's the younger generation. I'm stubborn in a lot of ways as well. But yeah, the younger generation constantly wants to combat with someone in arguments and stuff. I look at Twitter, I ask certain questions, but my questions, I just ask them. My questions, I just ask them because I'm really curious. I'm really wondering, like, all right, I see you guys doing this, and I just ask those questions. So I think that kind of makes me seem like, on the same side as the older people when I'm like really thinking about shit. And I'm like, I wonder why y'all be doing this, but a lot of times I'm not really even directing it towards the younger generation. I'm talking, normally when I see this stuff, it's people around my age or they might be even a little bit older than I am. It's just me questioning certain behaviors or certain stuff that people are doing. And it's really just me trying to build an understanding on it. But yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of differences between the younger and older generation. And I feel like that cycle is just always going to happen because one is used to one thing and one is used to the other. I remember when cell phones became more and more popular. Bruh, I used to be on my cell phone, but I don't feel like I was ever on my cell phone as much as, I feel like I'm not on my cell phone as much as a lot of people that I know. And you can't even sit there and do it off of post. I'm talking about like social media posts. There are a lot of people that I know that are constantly on social media, but they just don't post on social media. But they're on their phones all day long, right? I'm not like that. Like if I'm on social media normally, honestly, I'm like posting, some jokes or something or sharing something from somebody else, or sharing stuff from my YouTube for this podcast. And then that's it. When I'm around people, I'm not really on my phone. Yeah, I do take my pictures and stuff, to just kind of build up the memories, show the memories on social media. But other than that, like I can leave my phone somewhere else. When I'm at home and I'm not at work and stuff like that, like, dude, I literally leave my phone. I can leave my phone in my room and be somewhere else in the house and be totally fine, At the most, I might want to play some music from my phone or something while I'm doing something else, But yeah, there are a lot of people that are on social media so much. And like I said, even people my age, younger, older. But I remember when cell phones became so popular, older people were acting like younger people were just attached to their cell phones. I think it is true in a lot of ways. Maybe it's just an exception for me because I'm a little bit different. You know what I mean? But yeah, I remember I used to be told, "Oh, you always on your phone." I'm like, really? I don't think so. I'm like, most of the people I know are really on their phones. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really a person that likes to talk on the phone, like be on the phone for hours. I don't really like doing that. Text messaging, I'm normally texting, but I'm doing something else. So it's like, dude, sometimes I don't even see the text and it's just sitting there for a minute. You feel? So it's kind of different, for me. But I look at older people now, and like I said earlier, a lot of older people are on their phones a lot. I didn't say this earlier, but a lot of older people are on social media, being like, mainly Facebook, and then you have some older people that use Instagram, but I don't really see that many older people on Twitter, you know. But yeah, basically Facebook and Instagram, mainly Facebook, and they're constantly on their phone. Dude, sometimes I see my dad and I'm like, yo, I'm walking around or something, or I see him and then he's on his phone. He's just on his phone on Facebook, which is crazy because it's like, yo, I don't know. I'm not really on there like that. If I'm looking at my phone or something, it's like I might be reading some stuff on Twitter, or like, dude, I also just go to websites and I'm reading articles or, reading different stuff or watching YouTube or something like that. That's mainly what I'm doing. I'm not always on social media. And then when I'm watching most of the stuff like YouTube or reading these articles, if I'm at home or somewhere else, like, dude, I might be on my computer. Like if I can't have my computer out or if I'm not at the house, then of course, yeah, my phone. But if I'm at home, it's like I'm on a computer, the desktop or my laptop computer, and that's pretty much it. I don't really get so caught up in those things. And like I said, maybe I'm just making an exception for me because, that's just how I am. But yeah, a lot of older people are really being on social media a lot now. And it was crazy because I was like, these are some of the same people that were like, man, I can't believe y'all on your phone. Why y'all always on your phones? And it's like, look at you. You scrolling on that Facebook. And it's like, damn, man, I don't know. Times, of course, everybody are going to get used to whatever is happening with the times. And I think that's what it is for, older people these days. I do like it, though. You know what I mean? I always like people being into tech, getting more into tech or whatever. If you listen to my episode about boxing, how we have like the YouTubers, and actually today this is the Social Gloves boxing event where it's like TikTokers and YouTubers fighting and everything like that. And yeah, I feel like it's good. I like how everybody's getting more used to the sport of boxing. I think it's a good thing. Now, we look at the older generation, they don't really like it because they're like, oh man, these kids, they ain't really trained to be boxers and stuff. Instead of looking at it that way, it's like, I think you should be looking at it like, well, we got more fans coming to boxing, because if these young kids have millions of subscribers, if the subscribers watch them box, those subscribers most likely are going to go view actual boxing matches and get more familiar with the past boxers and, whatever current boxers are going on and different stuff like that. And I think it's good. So when older people are trying to learn new tech stuff and, just keep up with the times, I love it because I feel like that is closing the gap on us being so different, and I'm saying us because, compared to older people, I am considered young, but I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle just with how I am, but yeah, I don't know. It was something that I was really sitting there thinking. I started coming up with ideas for the podcast topics and stuff, and This wasn't even on the list, but I really saw that interaction on Facebook earlier, and it really had me sitting there thinking, like, man, there is a difference. And it went outside of just Facebook to like trying to understand both sides. Like I said, I don't understand everything that the younger generation does with, everybody says what, chasing clout. And I feel like there's a lot of young people that are chasing clout, doing whatever, doing crazy shit just to get known. That's my biggest issue with the younger generation. Now we look at the older generation, and when it comes to certain stuff, whether it's like YouTube, TikTok, anything that has to do with the internet, a lot of them don't seem to understand how success can come out of these things. So they constantly look at these younger kids like, oh, you're not skilled. You don't know how to do anything. You don't know how to do this, and this. But these kids are making millions of dollars. They know how to do something. And it's crazy. Like I said, it's just, I think they don't understand. The older generation doesn't really fully understand how all of this works. Some people do, because there's a lot of older people that are doing social media and they're known. So some are understanding. But even if you talk to those people will say, I like the fact that I'm an older person that learned all of these things and was able to utilize these things and build a career. So that's why I'm always happy seeing there's something that's bridging the gap, because I feel like understanding is the main thing that would do that. But I understand totally from the younger generation where they kind of don't want to be bothered with the judgment of, and I guess that's why the older generation calls the younger generation, soft, because the younger generation doesn't really, I don't know if it's the younger generation doesn't like the judgment, or if the younger generation is like, what the fuck am I listening to you for? You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to listen to you. And I think it could be a bit of both, that rebellious, behavior, or them just being like, man, I can't believe this old motherfucker is talking to me this way. Like, why are you sounding like you're constantly putting me down or acting like I'm doing something wrong? Like, it's, man, I don't know. And maybe we can't even just sit there and bring this up as a conversation of ages, but start talking about just individuals alone. That might be it, Because if you have a group of people, say it's a group of older people, you can't say that everybody's going to act that same way. But it happens so much to the point where both sides are saying this is how this group acts and this is how this group acts, So it's kind of become like a stereotype for ages, right? I don't know. I really want to build more understanding with both sides. And like I said, I'm at the perfect age where it's like I understand both sides. It's minor stuff I don't understand on both sides, but still at the end of the day, I think I'm at the perfect spot where I'm like, oh, okay, I see y'all. It was just something, I don't know. I don't even know if you guys find this interesting, but I thought it was interesting just thinking about like how people think, their process, and can you really break this off as, all right, this is a group thing, younger versus older or whatever. But honestly, I think you would just have to be like, all right, these are individuals, obviously every group, you have to look at every group as individuals within that group. Some are going to act this way, some are not, But yeah, I'm really just sitting here thinking like it was so interesting to me just seeing that. I don't know if you guys ever do this, but go out somewhere, right? And I'm not saying like you got to fucking pull out a pen and pad and start taking notes, but when you're out somewhere, look at some people that are older. Look at how they're acting. Look at how some of the younger people are acting. And I'm not talking about like being like, oh, it's a young kid and they're just over there being like mad immature. You know what I'm saying? Just look at just see how they react. And it'll really have you thinking. It'll have you laugh too. Like, oh, okay. I see they're different. But there's a lot of type of similarities, even with like humor. The older generation got certain type of jokes that they'll tell and stuff. Like now we call it dad jokes. um, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Just always trying to pick people's brains, not really pick their brains, but trying to see how they think. Um, and then thinking about it later on and kind of reflecting on everything you've experienced, And as you get older, of course, there's certain stuff. One thing for me, definitely going to the movies, right? If you go to the movies and there's like younger kids, like teens or something, they're normally like loud and annoying as fuck, right? And I always sit there in the movie theater and be like, nah, we couldn't have been like that back then. And I would ask people that are my age, like, dude, were we like that back then? And their answer is always no. So I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe that's just not what we were doing. Maybe other kids our age were really doing it. I don't know, but it seems like every time I go to the theater and there's younger people there, they're just doing stupid shit. And it's like, yo, we're here to watch the movie. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, yo, calm down, bro. Like, you doing too much. But yeah, man, hopefully you guys like this episode. It was random, but I think this topic was good. And I think it's something that will make people think, And some of the differences are obvious. Like we're like, oh, okay, yeah, of course I've seen that. But at the same time, once you really sit and think, it's like, all right, there is some disconnect. But man, the bridging the gap is always great. Building that understanding is always great. Trying to see it from different perspectives is great too. And I hope we just don't end up as those old people that are complaining and bothered by every fucking thing. Like I feel like sometimes I feel that way. So I'll ask certain questions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really bother me. I'm living my life. They living their lives. So it's not something that's really that bad, but it brings up like, a conversation. And then basically like what this podcast episode is. It brought up this podcast topic, So, yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy. Thank you for listening. You guys stay dope and check out my socials down below. If you guys are, listening or watching on YouTube, they're down below. And you guys stay dope. And I'll check you out later. Peace.